welcome to those who have decided to join me to get a bit more understanding of what needs to be in place for your business to be able to work without you. So really today, I'm going to focus over the next hour on how to create business freedom. That's my goal today. And that even if you take one thing away that you can implement, it will give you just a little bit more freedom in your business. That's my goal. So when we're looking at, how credible I am, if you don't know me, I have been an accredited business owner, a business coach, and I've owned businesses for over 30 years. An internationally accredited coach and have been for over 15 years running my practice. My passion and speciality is business planning, because I feel everything starts with a plan. If you're going to build a beautiful house, you would always start with a plan. If you're going to have an amazing holiday, you would start with a plan, and there's no difference with a business. I am very proud to say that I spent not proud of how long it took, but I'm proud to finally publish my book. Not last year, the year before, which was all my knowledge over the last 10 years. So that was something I'm very proud of, and do a bit of speaking for charities and associations and events. And honoured enough to have represented Australia in triathlon multiple times. So the power of planning and determination definitely comes into effect there. And I've been happily married to my husband for well over 30 years. So commitment, which you need in business, is my middle name. I've actually been married for over 37 years. So that's, as those of you who are married know, that is it's a good testament to dedication. So that's me in a nutshell for those that don't know me. So today we're looking at finding out what would have to change and what would have to happen for your business to work without you. So this is what the essence is of this webinar. So when we look at what would have to happen, first of all, you're either going to sell it, and it's going to have to work without you, because people have got to put some kind of value on your business to be able to buy it. Or you could put a business manager in, or a GM in, or maybe pass it down to a family member, which I often work with people who I was just speaking to someone today, worked with a father wanting to pass his business down to his 2 children. Or alternatively, imagine if you wanted to have a holiday and not be bothered, if you wanted to just go away and have a holiday for a month and not even have to worry about the business. When my husband and I had our own business, when we had little kids, those of you that have read my book will know one of my greatest business achievements by far would be that we put a manager in our business and backpacked the world for a year with our 2 little kiddies, 5 and 9, and homeschooled them. And that's definitely one of my biggest business achievements, because the business did actually work without us, and we actually got to have an income. So what does it actually take to do that? Well, there's 8 drivers, and I'm going to go through those drivers with you over the next hour. So I hope you've got a pen, and I hope you've got some paper to write down notes, or your tablet. So there's 8 drivers that increase the value of your business. Now, this is increasing the value for a potential buyer, or increasing the value for you to be able to go on holidays, or to put a general manager in, or to actually, divest or invest in different business ventures. So these 8 drivers, I'm going to just run through them now, and then I'm going to go through them in more detail. Number 1 is your business's financial performance. That's the first driver. The second one is the growth potential in your business. The third one is the Switzerland structure, which I'll explain in more detail in a minute. Keep you intrigued. The fourth one is the valuation seesaw, which again, maybe you might not know what that is, but it will be interesting to go through it. The fifth one is your hierarchy of reoccurring revenue. Sixth one, the monopoly of control. And 7th, customer satisfaction. And 8th is the hub and spoke. Now, I can give you any of this afterwards if I spoke too fast. So I'll just run through them again if you wanted to write them down, because I'm going to ask you questions around your business at what you can do in each one of these areas. So first one, financial performance. Second one, your growth potential. Third one, the Switzerland structure. Fourth one, the valuation seesaw. Fifth one, the hierarchy of recurring revenue. Sixth one, the monopoly control. Seventh, customer satisfaction. And 8, hub and spoke. Now, what we're looking at doing is saying, okay, what are the actions that you can do to impact your business, to give you the freedom to be able to have a holiday and not worry about the business? So being in the owner's trap is really what it's all about. It's about having that business that's, I suppose, almost shackled to you, so that the business can't work without you, so that the business is running you instead of you running the business. That's that owner's trap, so that in the middle is you and everything is running, you're running around trying to control everything. So it just goes on year after year after year, and eventually business owners get burnt out. And that's what we're looking at, saying, what can we do to change that? What can we do to impact that? So when we think about your business, are you in the owner's trap? Is it running your life? Is it controlling your time? Is it controlling your happiness? Or is the business a vehicle for you to be able to have more time with your family, to be able to have more finances, have more freedom? Because that's why people go into business. They don't go into business to be trapped. They go into the business to have freedom. And often it's the reverse that happens. They have less freedom because they can't go a month on holiday. They don't get paid when they're on holidays. So it's the reverse of what people actually want to happen. So where are you in that scenario? Are you in that trap? And I love that acronym, the JOB, you've just got a job just over broke, because that's what often happens. People have these ideas of having this amazing freedom in business, but it's not like that in reality. Unless they learn, which is what we're doing today, unless they learn, what does it take to get out of this owner's trap? What does it take to have to increase the value of your business for you, so that you can have a holiday, or so that you can potentially get a general manager in, or something like that, or so that you can will it to a family member? So number one, the first thing we're looking at, and I've got some notes here so that I don't forget anything, is the financial performance of your business. So when you're looking at selling your business, it's generally based on a multiplier. That's how they value the business. It's on a multiplier of your net profit. Yes, they add back any owner's discretionary spending, but it's based on a multiplier. Now, what happens is the multiplier goes up based on your financial performance. So first thing is, what is your financial performance over the last 3 years of your business? What does it look like? Do you actually know what it looks like? Have you looked at your profit and loss from comparing year to year to year? And is that something that you understand? So understanding your financials also includes things like, do you have a budget for the future? And do you track that budget on a monthly basis? And have you got things in place around the financial performance that means that if you were not in the business, the financial performance would still be under scrutiny? So, for example, standard operating procedures around how to budget, when to budget, what the report is. Do you have measurements in place on reducing your things like discounting, or do you have policies in place around who can discount? I have one business owner where I said, how much discounting is normally done in your business? And he was like, no, we don't discount. We're not allowed to discount. And I was like, oh, is there a code for discounting? And we looked up the code, and there was over 60K of discounts. And guess who the person who'd been doing the most discounting was? The business owner. So do we have policies around and procedures around discounting, budgets? Who does the budget and who tracks the budget? And are your chart of accounts in a mess, or are they in control? Are they in order? Because so often people will say, I don't understand my financials because they don't make sense. And if we talk about increasing the value of your business to be able to make you go on holiday, or to sell the business, or allow you to go on holiday, are you regularly looking at the 3 main financial dashboards, which is your profit and loss, compared to your budget, your balance sheet, and also your cash flow, because the cash flow is the conduit between those two. Because there's no point in not understanding your profit and loss if you're not looking at it at the same time in respect to your balance sheet, because you might have bought a lot of stock and think, oh, you know, why is there not much money in the bank, but it says we did a profit? Well, you've bought a lot of stock, or you might have a lot of people who haven't paid your bills. So the first driver of increasing the value, as I said, is financial performance, of how you track it, how you measure it, how clear you are of how you're going, and how profitable it has been over the last 3 years. Very important to understand that. I've got an example of a client I've been working with for probably about 12 years. The first time he came to me, he was like, I don't understand anything about financials. It doesn't make any sense to me. You need to help me here. So we worked in putting meaning on these numbers, because they all have meaning. They're not just numbers. To me, I see a story. How many people did you help in your industry? That's the story of the revenue. How much did that cost to generate that? That's the story of your cost of sale. Your operating expenses, that's how much we need to keep this business running. Your wages to revenue, that's how much energy you need to get within your team to make that revenue. So it all has a story. So this particular guy didn't understand anything. We've worked very hard over the last decade with doing this. He now has someone who's fully accountable for the financials internally. They report on a monthly basis. They track on a monthly basis. They're tracking their 5-year projections. They track their budget monthly, and they report to him. He's just had a 6-week holiday and everything ran smoothly. And he's, you know, eternally grateful that I raised his awareness of the things he needs to track and understand. Now, is the value of his business greater now than it was 10 years ago? Definitely. And had he been running the business for a long time before he came to see me? Yes. But he was just going in that owner's track. So huge difference in someone who understands their financial performance, who's tracking it and understanding it and putting energy into it, opposed to somebody who's just ignoring it, putting their head in the sand, which a lot of people do just because they don't know it. So if you want money, your financial performance to be better, you've got to learn about it and learn about it quickly. And there's plenty of people out there to help. When I first started my business, there was no such thing as the internet. There's a lot. I've got heaps of YouTubes on my YouTube channel, free YouTubes that are webinars like this that I've done. I did one on understanding financial literacy. So I'm more than happy to share that with you. I shared that in COVID when so many people were freaking out that they didn't understand their money because they needed to track it to see if they could get JobKeeper. So that's the first one. So my question to you is, what is one thing you can do to increase your financial performance in your business? And I want you to write it down now, please. Is it to create a budget? Is it to track it monthly? Is it to create a dashboard on your Xero or your MyOb? Is it to review the last 3 years' performance? Is it to tidy up your chart of accounts? What is it? Is it to do some learning on it? So one thing, and if you just have one thing in each area that you're going to work on, your business will improve dramatically, absolutely dramatically. So Renee's just kindly put that YouTube in there for anybody who is wanting to understand more about financials. So next driver. This is the growth potential in your business. What is the growth potential in your business? Do you know what your growth potential is in your business? So if you were putting a manager in, or if you were looking at selling the business or putting a family member in, then the more growth potential in the business, the more security they have that they've got something that has that intrinsic, potential to grow. So one of the things that I do with my clients when I'm working on creating their business plan for success is looking up industry insights, looking up industry benchmarks. Do you know if your industry is in a growth industry? Are you in an industry that's declining, or are you in an industry that's growing? Now, there's a lot of data out there from different industries. There's heaps of industry body information that can tell you that your business that you're involved in, the industry that you're part of, is growing or not. So the more potential there is to grow in your industry, the higher the value of your business. So for a potential buyer, or for someone who's going to be managing it, or for someone who's going to be babysitting it if you're like me and want to go on a holiday for a year. So do you know the industry growth that you're in and what that growth is? The other things that I'm looking at is other growth potential. Do you know if there's potential to grow your business through like internationally or nationally? I've had many clients grow their businesses throughout Australia and also overseas. Is that potential for you or for a buyer? It might be something that you're not interested in because you're wanting to retire or ran it for 10 years and are over it, but is the potential there for somebody else to say, okay, this business has potential to go global? So is that growth potential there? The other two growth potentials we want to look at is there vertical growth potential? Could your business go up? So if you were just, for example's sake, if you say got 10 times the clients, could your business grow vertically or not? Do you have the infrastructure? Do you have the systems, the platforms, the systems in place to allow for that growth? So that's the vertical growth potential. What growth potential does your business have to go up? How many new customers could it sustain or before it starts to fall over? The other is horizontal growth. Is there potential horizontal growth for your business? So are there other products or other product groups that you could potentially add that would give your business more potential? Now, it doesn't have to be you, but the potential needs to be there. So have you researched what other products do your competitors supply to their clients? Could you supply them too? What other products are your clients buying off your competitors that they could actually love the fact that they trust you and like you, and they could buy it off you as well? So the question here is, what is the growth potential in your business? Do you know what the growth potential is in your business? So write down what you think is the highest growth potential. Is it to go global? Is it to understand your industry growth rate and do some research with that? Is it to grow vertically? Is it also sustainable if it did grow quickly? If you had an amazing marketing plan or an amazing review that just had a surge of clients, would it sustain that growth or not? The other is the model. Is that model of your business, could that potentially grow? I've seen business models change where they've started to license or franchise or have a model change that actually gives them growth. So please write down, what is the #1 growth potential in your business now? Or if you don't know, where you would be looking first to see what growth potential is there. So hopefully you're writing this down. With a client that I worked with as an example, we looked at other products that their clients were buying off their competitors or somebody else and not off them. They increased their revenue 16% over a 12-month period just by going back to the people that trusted them and saying, hey, I noticed that you also get this, we can supply that too. So 16% increase in their revenue. When we're talking about a company that's turning over a few million, that was huge, absolutely huge. And this was a product that didn't require a lot of labour. It was actually just supplying, which was great because it helped the wages to revenue ratio, sorry. So the third one, the Switzerland structure. So the Switzerland structure is the third, I suppose, the third driver that will increase the value of your business. So when we look at the Switzerland structure, it's the reason it gets its name is from Switzerland, and the way it has always been very neutral, and it's a neutral country. So what it's alluding us to the fact is, with your business, we want it to remain as neutral as possible. And by that I mean, does your business rely on one supplier or a large portion of suppliers, so 80% of one product is coming from one supplier? Does it also rely on one team member or a large percentage of the team members? So that's the second one. And the third one is, does it rely, is a lot of your revenue coming from one customer? Or is there a large portion coming from one customer? I was sitting in a coaching session with a client and I drew a circle and I said, okay, show me what percentage of your revenue is coming from one particular client. And it was about 76%. That's all I did. And he looked at me and I looked at him and I'm like, okay, so you deal with one person there. If that person left, or if you had an argument with that person, what would happen if you lost that client? And he went white. And we worked tirelessly on changing that. And we've now changed it dramatically. What we've done is we've made that pie bigger, but also we've got a lot more clients on board. So no one client is more than 10% of the revenue of this company now. So what is, you know, when we look at your business, when we look at the Switzerland structure, how reliant are you on one team member? How reliant are you on one supplier, or 80% from one supplier? I spoke actually to a shed supplier the other day, and he said he has signed a contract to only get sheds from one manufacturer, and they have a 6-month wait, and he's got all these orders from mines that he cannot supply. So he will never do that again, ever, but he's bound by the contract. So we've got suppliers, employees, and customers. So when we look at your business and the Switzerland structure, are you neutral with all three of them? So if you're not, if your business is very dependent on one team member, you know, how detailed is their job description, KPIs, reporting, description of character traits, their tasks of what they do, so that if they are sick or if they have a misunderstanding and leave, that your whole business doesn't crumble. It's not just all reliant on that one person or those two people. The other is your suppliers. Do you have a suite of other suppliers that you can spread that risk so that you're not just reliant on one supplier or two suppliers? Because if it's two, it's only 50-50. If you have something happens with one and you lose the other one. And the same with the customers. What is that balance? So I want you to write down, if your business is really reliant on one particular person or a large percentage, then your suppliers or your customers. And if they are, what area are you going to work on for it first? What do you need to be looking at first to try and balance some of that risk and mitigate some of that risk of being reliant on one particular area of your business? That will create more value in your business, and it will be much easier for the person, if you do have a family member you're passing it to, or a manager putting it, it'll be much easier. And funnily enough, I remember we were importing from Korea at the time when we went backpacking the world, and the Korean distributor did not like working with a female general manager, and that was a bit of a challenge. They were the times when we got phone calls because we were too reliant on one supplier for this one particular product group, and that was actually quite difficult. We'd never thought of that at the time, but he didn't like dealing with a female and found it very, very difficult. It was against his, and we're talking about 20 years ago, it was against his business values. He wanted to deal with the man, which was quite challenging for us at the time. But had I thought of this, I would have changed it. So that's the third one. So now we're going to look at the fourth one now. So I hope you've written down something that you can work on to reduce your risk. Now, this one here, this next one, this is, hold on, have I got my slides mixed up? I don't think I do. Okay, so we're looking here at, I'm up to number 4, sorry. I'm up to the valuation seesaw. So I think I've got the wrong slides. Pardon me, I'm just a little bit out of the way. Here we go, sorry. that slide there was for the topic I just discussed. Sorry, pardon me. Don't be too reliant on one factor. Sorry, I forgot to change the slide. Anyway, we're allowed to make mistakes. We're human. Okay, the next one. So we're now up to number 4. So this is the valuation seesaw. We want to make sure that we bridge your cash gap. So do you have a cash gap in your business? So, example, you're selling your business or someone's selling their business and there is a certain amount of money that the person has to buy the business. Now, if that your business needs a lot of money to run it, that is going to have to come out of that pot of money that they have to buy your business. So the more your business needs cash to run it, the lower the sale price will be for your business. Then the less money the business needs to run, the more money they will pay for your business. So it's only a certain amount of money that people are prepared to invest in that business. So that's why we look at saying value goes up in what people will pay. If the cash they need to run the business is low, if it's high, the value goes down. So what does this mean? It means we need to look now at how we can reduce the cash gap in your business. So this is the time it takes for you to actually take the order, get the money in the bank, and pay your suppliers and pay your team members. Now, I've seen some people that have a 3-month cash gap because they're paying for supplies before they get paid for them. One particular client, he was working in the civil construction area and he was waiting months and months and months to get money. So we're looking at saying, are there ways that you can reduce this cash gap in your business? So I've had some people take cash deposits up front, change. I've had other people change their structure where they have to pay on completion of job. There's many ways to change this cash gap if you do have one, if you need a lot of cash. Couple of other things, have a cash flow projection so that you actually know when and tracking it every week when the cash is coming in. With the particular client that had the civil customers, the civil clients, the civil industry that he was working in, they weren't paying very well. They were not good at paying at all. He changed his industry that he was dealing with because there were such bad payers, because the value of his business was not there with such huge, massive debtors and such a massive cash gap. So if business, it has a lot of cash in it and you're positive cash flow and you're tracking that you're positive cash flow and you've got strategies you're working on to increase that, it's a lot more attractive to buy and it's a lot less stressful if you've got a manager going in to run it, because they're not having to worry about how do we pay the wages? How do we close that gap? So the question for you in this this number 4, which is the valuation seesaw, is if you want to increase the value of your business, reduce the amount of cash it needs to run it, and reduce that cash gap. Because if you, for example, have a massive cash gap, where does that money come from? And often it comes from an overdraft. So that means that your gross profit is going down because you're having to fund that money. So we're wanting to say, how can we reduce it? What strategies have you looked at, or what strategies have you tried before or are there as an opportunity to reduce that gap? It's something that can have a massive difference in your business if you don't have to worry about the cash and when it's coming in. I had a client who came to me, he had, I think it was over 300K of debtors that he'd never worried about. And we got a debtors system in place and got some steps in place that we started to implement and change the payment system. And we got that down to under 20K within about 3 months. And what difference did that make to his business? Massive, absolutely massive. Increased the value of it and it reduced the stress level for everybody, absolutely everybody. So please write down one thing that you can do to reduce the cash gap and to reduce that seesaw effect that businesses have when they have that cash cycle that goes up and down. So the next one, number 5. Number 5 here is hierarchy of reoccurring revenue. Now, who would have thought that toilet paper, you could have made reoccurring revenue out of that? Now, the more reoccurring revenue you have contracted in place in your business, the higher the value, and again, the less stress you have for you or for a manager in the business. Because it's almost like the higher your reoccurring revenue, it means if you had some binoculars and you're looking out to the future, you've got a lot further you can see of a path of revenue that you've already got promised to you. So if a business starts at zero every single month, then it's not as valuable as a business that has this reoccurring revenue that's consistently growing with people that are contracted or are signed up or are enrolled to be having that every single month. Now, I've seen some amazing creative ways. One particular company that was having massive challenges with that starting at zero at the beginning of every month, they said to me, I said, what's the ideal scenario? What's the ideal client? And they said, wouldn't it be great if we just had contracts that were years in advance so we could really predict and create value in the business? So that's what they did. So they went and worked on, and now they have 3 to 5 year contracts for all their clients. So it just took the stress off. We've got that reoccurring revenue promised. You've got other businesses like subscription models, membership models. I've worked with IT companies that were break-fix IT companies and project IT companies where we put a layer of reoccurring managed services, reoccurring income in. That was a win-win for them and their clients as well. So with your business, and I've deliberately put the picture of the toilet paper because, like, after 15 years of coaching businesses, I've seen all sorts of businesses create a reoccurring revenue by having creative ideas of way. Like there's one that I was looking at that was a razor company that started a reoccurring revenue from subscriptions for guys to have razors delivered to their door on a regular basis. So anything is possible. So when we look at your business, what subscriptions, what renewals, what contracts, what IP, what can you get in place? So if we're wanting to increase the value around reoccurring revenue, it has to be documented so that it's evidence that that is promised to you. And that just increases the value, takes the stress off for you and for everybody else. So again, think about your business and what's one thing that you can do to create a reoccurring revenue model that is, it might be way out there, but every way out idea when we look at reoccurring revenue has been tried, and you just don't know what will happen or what can work. So have a think about it. So one thing that's going to increase your reoccurring revenue, contracts, subscriptions, renewals, anything like that, that's going to be reoccurring. So number six, when we look at number 6, the 6th driver of the value of a business, I changed the right one. We want to look at saying, what is the monopoly of control of your business? So I was doing some research about Warren Buffett, and he's actually known for the businesses that he invests in. They always have a very protective moat around them. And the wider and the deeper the moat is, the more he's willing to pay for that business. So when we look at that, we're looking at saying, is what position do you own in the market? What differentiates you from your competitors? And do you know what's different about you from your competitors? What is your unique selling point? And how do you actually share that so that everybody knows why you're unique, why they buy off you, why you offer something that no competitors offer? And often, when I say to people, what's unique about you, and they tell me, then I'm wanting to find, okay, so where is it shared? Is it shared on your website? Is it shared in your proposals? Is it shared in your actions and your values? Can we clearly see when we look at your team members opposed to somebody else's, that you do own your position, that you are a step above your competitors, that there is no comparison between you and your competitors. So thinking about this point number 6, the monopoly of control, do you control your market? And if you don't, what can you do to control it? What can you do to differentiate yourself so that you stand out above all your competitors? What's one thing you can do? Whether it's changing your branding, synchronizing your branding, whether it's sharing your story. Sharing your story can be really powerful. People like to know people's story. Like the example of the, who gives a crap toilet paper? We love hearing their story. So what is it that you can do? One thing that you can do to own your position in the market, just that little bit more, that tiny little bit more. Okay, so we are going next on to number 7. Number 7 is all about creating happy customers. I look like a happy customer there. So when we look at happy customers, how satisfied are your customers? So if we're looking at buying your business or a manager coming in, we want to go in knowing that all our customers are happy and that they love us. But how do we know that? Now, as a company grows and gets bigger and bigger, it's very hard for them to assess, are the customers satisfied or not? Because often when a company gets very big, it loses that personal touch. So what do you have in place to ensure that you know your customers are happy? Now, one of the things that you can do, you might have heard of the NPS score, the Net Promoter Score. This guy called Reicheld created this some time ago. And he's looking at saying, if we get an independent person, not you, an independent person to go to your clients and say, on a 0 of 0 to 10, how likely are you to refer this client, this company, to your friends or your family or your colleagues? So it's one question. How likely on a scale of 0 to 10 are you going to be referring this company? So what happens is we then collate that, and companies that have had people score between 9 and 10 in their Net Promoter Score, they're called promoters. Companies that have people score between 7 to 8, they're called passives. And then companies that have people score between 0 to 6, they're detractors. So the formula for working out the Net Promoter Score is to say, okay, well, let's deduct the detractors from the promoters to give us our Net Promoter Score. So as an example, if you're writing this down, if you're interested to find out how this theory works, because you might hear it a lot, what's your NPS score, is promoters are people scoring between 9 to 10, 9 or 10. So as an example, if you're writing this down, say we had 25%, we surveyed 100 people, 25% of them said, yes, yep, I score between 9 and 10 on yes, I would happily refer this client. Then the next group, the ones that score between 7 to 8, these are passives. Say we had 70% of them were passives. So they weren't over the moon. They just said, oh, yeah, between 7 to 10, yep, they would refer us. And then the last one, the detractors that score from 0 to 6, say, for example, we only had 5% of them. So we take the 5% away from the 25%, we cross out the 70% because they're passives. So that means the Net Promoter Score would be 20%. So when market researches have been done, average customers, average companies that have been researched, an average Net Promoter Score is between 10 to 15. So if an organisation has their Net Promoter Score above 15%, they're actually statistically expected to grow faster than their competitors. So, the questions here is, do you measure your customer satisfaction level by an independent method? Do you know how satisfied your customers are? And do you know what you're actually doing to change the ones that are not satisfied? So by understanding the challenges and problems that the unhappy customers are having, then we can increase our score. So we, with our customers, do a Net Promoter Score questionnaire. It takes 2 seconds for me to set up, and I send it to my clients' customers for them, so that they get an idea of what their Net Promoter Score is. So if you've never done it, it's a great activity, and it gives you an awareness of where they are, how happy they are, and how much value is in your business with those happy customers. So again, I really want you to write this down. I want people to, there's no point in sitting on a webinar for a whole hour and doing nothing afterwards. There's no point in just listening and then not acting. You might as well have not even taken the time out. So in relation to this one, number 7, customer satisfaction, what is one thing you can do to increase the customer satisfaction level with your clients? Often I've had workshops with clients where we said to all the team, how do we wow our clients? What's some amazing ideas to wow them? And they brainstorm ideas, and then we look at what we can do to implement them. We do the NPS score before, we might do it 6 months later. So what's one thing you can do to either understand if your customers are happy or not, or to impact it, to increase their satisfaction level, so that you have a lot more of that happy energy going around for whoever's going to take over, or for you to have a holiday and know, yeah, my clients are really happy. They're happy for me to have a holiday. They don't need me. They're really happy regardless. They're happy with my team. They're happy with my systems. They're happy with my delivery. So one thing, I want you to write it down, what you can do. Last one, lucky last. Last one here is the, I'll change the slides. So the last one here is we're wanting to look at the number 8 is the hub and spoke. Would the business continue without you or not? If you were sick, if you were hit by a car or had some illness, as I unfortunately did, which was why we took a year off, would the business run without you? So number 8 is called the hub and spoke because are you a spoke in your business, or are you the hub? Does the business fully rely on you, or do you have to be involved with everything like a hub? So things that come to mind with often business owners, there's a syndrome that we call the Superman syndrome, and it's quite common with business owners. They love flying in and fixing everything, and it gives them a sense of control, maybe ego, maybe, but they're not doing themselves any favor. So do you have Superman syndrome? Do you love flying in and fixing things? I said to a business owner the other day, they said, there's always constantly, getting troubleshooting. And I'm like, how much of your time is spent proactive opposed to reactive? His answer was at least 90% is reactive. And I'm like, okay, so if 90% is reactive, is how many of those reactive bushfires that you're putting out, how many of them have happened before? And he's like, all of them, repeatedly. I'm like, okay, so maybe it's a leadership issue. Why do you have to fix everything all the time? If something's happening over and over again, why do we have to rely on you to fly in and fix it? We need to say better questions, better leadership. Bob, has this before? Yes, it has. Great. What did you do last time? We did this, this, and this. Do you have the authority to do this, this, and this? You do. Great. Fantastic. Look, next time this happens, what about you just give me an FYI text or email and say, this has happened, this is how I resolved it, same as last time, all is well. So what happens is that people become less reliant on the business owner if they're actually led to take ownership themselves. If they're allowed to make decisions, if there's things that are happening over and over again, do we need a system around that? Do we need some standard operating procedures around it? Do we need checklists? Do we need people other people in the business to verify it? Now, with one business owner, what we did is we looked at the org chart, we drew the org chart and drew which of the things that he was accountable for in his org chart of his organisation. He was in every single square. So over a 2-year period, what we did was we slowly got him out of every square. We started to delegate. We started to look at what's he doing around his time. It was one particular situation where there was about, I think it was like 6 weeks of invoices that weren't done. So this is money sitting out there waiting for people to invoice, to invoice, get their invoice so they could pay. And he wasn't doing them because he didn't trust anyone to do them. So I'm saying, okay, so how much is your time worth and how much would it be to get an accounts person to do that? And the lights went on. So we're talking about over $100,000 of invoices waiting to be done, but he was the bottleneck or the handbrake because he wanted to check every single invoice. Now, this company had been going for 15 years. Had they done invoices the same as that before? Yes. Could we work out some templates for invoices? Yes. Could we work out some systems? Yes. But no, he just wanted to hold on to everything. So slowly but surely, we got him out of every one of those parts of the org chart. So we got him out of marketing, we got him out of operations, we got him out of financials. The last area that he's left in now is HR because he likes to hire the right people because he still hasn't let go of that yet. So when we look at your business, how attached are you to everything? Because if you want to have a holiday, and if you want to potentially increase the value to sell it, you can't be having your hand on every single thing that is instrumental in success of your business. You can't scale a business if it's dependent on one person. Another thing is to look at where you're spending your time in your calendar and having a look at the value of that time and saying, is it better for somebody else to be doing that? Or should I be doing that? Is that a really high value, high skill task, and does it really need me to be doing that? So sometimes a wake-up call will happen when people look at their calendar and look at all the things they're doing that they really don't need to do. They can delegate those. They can delegate them. They don't need to do them. So looking at the whole cycle of your business as a hub and wheel, what do we have to do to get you out of being the hub and get you into being a spoke and then eventually out altogether as an actual business owner and owning the wheel? I had a colleague, a business coach friend of mine, who had a hairdressing client, and they went over east and did skiing for a couple of weeks, and he always was hands-on, would not go off because his customers said they only wanted him to do his hair and had to be done by him. Anyway, came back, the business coach made him put a sling on to give people the assumption that he broke his arm, and he stopped doing hair. Funnily enough, the customers were happy to go with somebody else, and that one thing of putting the sling on got him off the tools altogether. He didn't break his arm, but it was inferred that he did, but it just got him off the tools, and they were still happy to come back. And he thought that he was the essential person and the only person that they wanted and couldn't do without him, and his business would collapse, but it didn't. It was fine. So last bit of note taking is, what is one thing you can do over the next month or so to take you out of your business hub? What can you delegate, and what can you stop doing that somebody else can do, that their hourly rate is less than yours, so that you actually can have a business rather than just a job? So please write it down so you don't forget, because as I said, if you don't write things down and you don't act on them, there is no point in spending this time. So if you start to work in these areas, you are going to gain so much more freedom. Now, where have these 8 drivers of the value of your business come from? Well, I don't know if you've ever read John Warrillow's book, Built to Sell. I did. I loved it. And he's built a bit of a framework around how to create that value in your business. And I love his 8 points. And when I'm working with people to create a plan, when I'm coaching my clients to create that freedom, I really like the framework that he's got. So working on your financial performance and understanding it, working on your potentials for growth, working on that Switzerland structure so that you're not dependent on any one supplier or client or team member, working on the valuation seesaw of money so that you've got plenty of money for the business to be actually operating without being cash strapped in any way, having reoccurring revenue so that you don't start from zero every month, having the monopoly of control so that you are differentiating yourself to your competitors, and you know what that is, you hold your space. The seventh one was having that customer satisfaction and knowing where it is and working on increasing it. And the last one, number 8, get you out of the business so that you're not the hub of the wheel, that you don't have that Superman syndrome. So I really hope that's helped. One of the things that John Warlow from Built to Sell has done is built a little measurement, a dashboard, a report to have a look at how we can increase the value in your business. It gives you a summary of the 8 drivers in your business. So I'm more than happy to do it on your business if you're interested. The questionnaire is complimentary. It takes about 15 minutes to do, and it will give you the report of where you're at and give you some ideas of, okay, I need to work in here, here, and here to build the value up of my business so that I can have a life if you want to separate yourself from the business or go on holiday, which would be amazing. So questions, Renee's in there in the chat, and I would love to answer any questions. I can't even see what time we have, so I'm hoping I've not gone over time. I'm hoping we've got time for questions. So if anyone would like to ask questions, I'll open up so I can see the chat box. It's been a lot to go through, so I'm hoping that I can answer any questions. Please feel free to ask me anything if you would like to. Yes, the strategy does give ideas in each area. It gives you dot points of ideas of have you thought of this, and have you thought of this, and what happens if you did this? Yes, great question. And yes, you can redo it. If somebody, I've had many people that have done the dashboard to see where they're at, and then a year later worked on it, and then a year later gone and done it again to see, okay, have I increased my value of my business? Have I taken my hands off a little bit and increased the value in it? Great question. Yes, you do need to have your financial numbers. You need to know what your turnover was, what your net profit was. So that's a good exercise if you don't, what your gross profit was and what you take for wages. So yes, you do need to know, and you should know them anyway. So for the last 3 years, just the main numbers, your turnover and your net profit and your gross profit, and what you've taken as an owner. So if anyone has any other questions, please just shout out. I think Renee will probably put the link to everyone if they do want to get the report. If you want the report on your business, I'm pretty sure Renee's putting the link in the chat so that you can just click on the link and do it then. So more than happy to go through it with you if you want to have a look at it. And if I can help, my big, hairy, audacious goal is to be a millionaire of hearts, touch 1 million people's lives before I leave this earth. And this year I want to touch 100. So I'm really hoping that I have touched your heart in some way that has inspired you to move in a positive direction for your business. That's my goal. That's why I like to share these webinars, to help people that just need a little bit of help, need a little bit of inspiration or some ideas. It's my goal to be able to inspire 100 people this year to just be a better version of their business than they were a year ago, or a better version of themselves, a better leader, a better owner. If you would like to help me to help other people, because I'm really, I get excited about helping other people. If you enjoyed this webinar and want to put a wrap in, or whatever you call them, a wrap, a referral, or whatever, for every I donate $1 to Opportunity International for every person that's putting a rap about me or about one of my webinars. If you enjoyed it and you want to put that in, I'll donate $1 for each one, and I do it every month to Opportunity International, and they help small businesses in third world countries. So it all makes a difference. So if you enjoyed it, I would love to get your feedback, and I'm happy to help you. And there's the links there, and enjoy my gift if it's of value to you to see where your business is at and where you can improve. Happy Friday. Have a great Friday. Thank you for joining me.